Yeah, sounds like fun. So it's just about live. And then after that, it takes me like a minute to actually share it to the pages. And then we start and go from there. Okay, so it's live. I'm about to connect it to or share it to the pages and tag you. As Facebook changed the page thing. Like now the page is an actual timeline page. So let me go through that. One, two, three. All right, it is posting, and then I'm just setting up the comment box so that I can, when I look down at my phone, I'm looking at the comment box. So I'm not distracted. Turn down the volume. All right, ready? Greetings, Natural Week community. I hope you all are well. Welcome to Community Hour of Power. We are excited to have our guest today. Right before we start our dialogue, I just want to thank everyone who has been supporting the community feedings. They have been great. We just had one last week with New Providence and fed 100 people. It was wonderful. The next one is November 14th, and it is a special Thanksgiving one. So we are actually doing a Thanksgiving community feeding. You'll see more details about that very, very soon. So thank you again for all of your support. We really greatly appreciate it. And with that, we will do a quick breathing exercise as we always start with. I know Tuesdays can be a little bit crazy sometimes. So please just find a comfortable position and just take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out and take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out. And while you are breathing, just think about the things that make you happy, things that help you and allow you to express who you are and express yourself. And no matter how that is, for some of us, we express ourselves through writing. For some of us, we express ourselves through singing or painting. Think about those things that really allows you to express who you are as you continue to breathe. And as we think about those expressions, we are thankful that we are able to find ways to express ourselves. It doesn't always have to be words. It doesn't always have to be actions, but we are so many talents and so many things. And just want to encourage you to think on those things in this time, as it's important to find our joy in everything. And you want to take one more breath out and one more breath in, and then return back to your regular breathing. So I am excited for our guest today. We have with us Tae Mckinney. Tae is a writer and artist. She sings. She is a graphic designer, a first lady, a wife, a mom, just very talented. And we're excited to have her. I'm going to let her introduce herself in her own way.
Hello, I am Tae. Thank you for having me on. I am all those things she said. I like to say I wear many hats, many jobs. I do a lot of things, but at the core of it all, I am a mom of two. I have a daughter and a son. My husband is a pastor, and I work with a community nonprofit organization. And in my spare time, I read, write, draw, sing. What I do, whatever I can, just to keep myself grounded for the most part.
Hey, so how did you get into writing, singing, painting, reading? How did you get into that?
I have always been a reader. Um, we'll start there. I've always been a reader. So my mother would buy me books, and we would go to the bookstore. And by the time we made it home in the car, I was done with the book. So she didn't want to buy me any more books, but I've always been a reader, and from that I started writing. I've written poetry, and I've wrote my first novel when I was in high school. Um, I didn't publish it. I lost it somewhere in the parking lot or the school campus somewhere, but it was a complete novel. But I've always been writing. I'm a night owl, so I'll be up writing, drawing, sketching, painting, um, all those things. And I go nowhere without music. And in my household as a kid, I was always the one singing. So
I'm smiling. So Tay and I have known each other since I was 13, and she stole my chili cheese Fritos, and so we actually knew each other through music and reading. I remember the first time she stole my Fritos because there was more than once. We are talking about Midsummer's Night Dream and Much Ado About Nothing in the middle of choir class when we were supposed to be singing The Wiz. And it was at that moment, it was like, oh, someone who understands what it's like to finish the book and just need another one. And how that has really kind of shaped what we do and who we are in terms of even working with kids and making sure that it's fun and expressive and allowing them to express themselves. How have you been able to maintain that, even going through college and then married life and now pastor's life and everything, and now it's really part of your job as well?
um, I would say for the most part, there's not a time where I don't find some way to plug in and be creative. It's just a part of my fabrication. It's a part of my makeup. Um, there's not a time that I'm not thinking of a creative way to do something, how I would draw something, how I would write something. And I guess also because I am a night owl, I find that in those witching hours um, and those times by myself, I can just really kind of tap into that. If I'm not tapping into that, I'm not grounded. Um, I'm not at a place where I can be the best mom. I can be the best wife. I can be the best coworker or do my job efficiently if I'm not making sure that my creative mind is pinging. The job I have right now is very creative, and I'm able to use actually the logistical technical side that I know very well, which is really rare that I hold both, but the technical side of things and still be able to tap into the creative side. So it really helps me kind of like balance both lives because it's never far away from me. I don't find myself like, oh my God, I'm in a rut because all I did was HTML code all day. Well, with that HTML code, I was able to create some graphics and do some things like that. So it's never left my side as far as just being interwoven into my life.
That's great. So you mentioned writing. You lost your first novel and you write poetry. Have you published anything?
I have published. I have a book called Prayers for the NICU Mom. My son was born prematurely, and he did about 10 to 12 days. It gets a little rough when I start thinking about it, how many days it was because it felt like forever. And during that time, there was no resource for me. And the only thing I could do at that point in time was pray, because if you've been or heard stories about the NICU, it is an experience like none other. So after I had my son and we brought him home and everything was fine, I pinned in one night in those witching hours that I discussed, prayers for the NICU mom. And I published that, self-published that in digital format. I'm still working on getting it in hard copy format, because it just was my soul. When people said, what can I do for you? They really couldn't do anything for me when you are displaced from your child, when you have to leave the hospital and your child has to stay, and there's all these concerns. Nobody could really do or say anything for me but pray. All I could do was pray. And so I wrote that book so that when people don't have the words, or if you know of a mom going through their own NICU experience, that you could send them that copy and say, I don't have the words for you, but maybe these words will help.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a part of that too, I've also been a part of a couple collaborations, The Beauty in My Mess, as well as Driven. It's a collaboration of authors and mini series. And I am still pinning my book about being a mom, what happens when you're a mom, and all the horror stories they don't tell you in a funny and kitschy kind of way, just the whole bars of it. And one day I'll actually get that one released, but my kids keep giving me more material. So one day I'll be able to say, listen, here's what I went through, and here's how I laughed through all the poopy mess that happened while learning to be a mom, being a mom, then being a mom of two, and then being a mom kids who have full personalities.
Full personalities.
Full personalities.
I'm just imagining all of the stories that you have right now. But one of the, as you know, natural we does everything relating to Black people. And I think it's important to show this side and the creative expression side in terms of just also everyday life. I think sometimes we can get caught up in, well, what is the activism aspect, or what is the community service aspect of it? And remembering that we exist in life in human form, and we pray, and we need to get through the day as well, and how you're a living example of that. You know, when you're talking about prayers of the NICU mom, I was just remembering how you prayed through it and holding your faith. And even with the beauty in my mess, and being able to think, how did we pray through different situations as not only just Black people, but as Black women, and the weight that it carries. And so I think it's important for us to remember that we are living every single day, and that there are moments and there is laughter in getting through that in everyday life. So how do you continue to keep that in you have a comment. It says, I am glad to know that first ladies are boring like most think. Aren't, I think James means aren't boring. I'm gonna ask him to clarify that. He's a pastor that's on.
We are not boring. We're not boring. We're actually human. I was a pastor's kid, a preacher's kid, then a pastor's kid before I was a preacher's wife, and now a pastor's wife. And the idea that, you know, we're stodgy and we have to be a certain way, is those are pressures from external sources, not pressures that we place on ourselves. And we are Christians walking and doing what we need to do. to raise our family, to support our husbands, to keep ourselves grounded. Um, those are things we're doing on a daily basis because that's what living is. And you're supposed to live and walk and be like Jesus, but we can't live, walk, and be like Jesus if we're claiming to be Jesus. I'm not perfect. um, None of us are, but we're trying to get to that perfect example. And that's just us living life loudly, boldly, full of color, um, and experiencing life and showing that to our kids that, you're not going to always know or do or say the right thing, but God's grace is sufficient. And so he knows my personality and loves me. And even in the whole thing I'm saying, there's never a creative aspect that's not around. I think that's his love language for me, that he lets me go into spaces where I can use all of that and I don't have to put one down to do another job. He kind of just weaves it in my life and never lets me stray from that. So
There's a pastor on here. He said that's a faith I could believe, and I think that is so important. You're one who has taught me to live my faith and live boldly as a fellow PK, right? And understanding that, do we have to be perfect, or do we have to have like this wall? But just being able to really truly be yourself, and then you are that walking testimony of God's grace, and that walking testimony of living your life fully, and understanding that as people of God, as women of God, we laugh, we smile. Like if we are showing a stuffy side, then we're being as the Pharisees, and we should actually be laughing and living and breathing and experiencing God's creativeness.
it says the joy of the Lord is my strength, not the sorrow. If I was to take on everything that this world has given me, my creative bucket would be dry, or my art would be dark, or my I wouldn't be able to find that brightness or those creative moments. So life is taking everything you get and spinning it into something that's beautiful, because he gave me this life. It's beautiful. And how can I weave that into every like fabric of my life? So even in the hard times, I got something to hold on to.
Right. So you mentioned this beautiful and art and everything, and you have some art behind you. Can you just talk about your art for a minute?
I started painting pastels on canvas probably around high school, and it would just be something I would sit and do and sit in the window and draw and do pastels. And I really found my love in painting Black images that were representative of the queens that I've seen in my life. Um, so I just really took that on as just basically, it was for me. It was for me. And I didn't show anybody for the longest time. I did not share my art for the longest time. It was for me. It was really something I did to zone out. And I just wanted to, I guess, almost mirror what I saw in my everyday life. There's not a second that I wasn't at my grandmother's house or my mom's house or my aunt's house that there wasn't Black art on the walls.
Mhm.
Everybody knows those classic Black paintings that are on their family and their grandmother's walls. And just to be able to say, I liked to see that. And I want people to be able to have those same things in their households for years to come. So I said, okay, I'm going to start sharing it. So I paint Black women in gold and specks of golds and browns and bold colors, because that's who we are and that's what we represent and that's the fabric of us. The other day, my daughter was on Zoom class and she said, "Oh, I have to write about somebody that's important to me." And I was like, "Okay, normally she's gonna write about her daddy, the best. She's gonna write about her dad." But she's like, "I'm inspired by my mom because she paints African American women."
Oh.
And that was just so important to me. And she'll look at my paintings and then she's starting to recreate them on her own because I don't want her to grow up without images that represent her and us and our life, because we can go out everywhere and see everything that doesn't represent us or that represents us in a negative light, because I come from a media and advertising background. I know what the stereotypical images are, and I can say that's not in my circle. So I'm confused as to where that's coming from when I look and I see successful businesswomen, artists, creatives, upscale. We're not splitting our verbs. We're not doing that. And we're holding ourselves accountable. And where is that image? So just by painting that and showcasing that, my daughter, and then that's enough for me alone, is able to say, this is what Black art is. And this is what's represented in my family. And I'm inspired by it.
I think that is so powerful. I'm going to come back to that, but you do have a question. It says, did church people ever try to discourage you and keep you from being creative? This is the story of so many.
Um, I would say no. Um, I would definitely say no because I am, how do I describe myself as a first lady or somebody in the church? I really hold myself to be set apart. I don't get into the mix of things. If I'm in the mix of things, people can start lending their opinions very often. But because, and maybe it's because I'm an introvert by nature, um, my circle's small. Um, I support my husband. I'm not running the church. Therefore, there's not a lot of talk back about what I'm doing. And I came into my backgrounds with this creativeness. And I think it's been more of an asset on any other part because I've done church websites. My creative is an asset. It's a commodity. So I am I do the media, I do the flyers, I come up with I've written a couple of plays and a little skits for the kids, and it's an asset in the church. And I think that is what is missing sometimes in our Black churches. And I think we're getting there now with quarantine and COVID, is that people are realizing that the church has to get into the mainstream and we have to have our images. We can't just have a regular church flyer looking like a regular church flyer. We've got to be up and running and know the elements of design, space, techniques. We need to know all those things so we can reach people and they can realize that, the church isn't dry. They are up on the trends as far as graphics and media are designed. And I think it's been more of an asset than a stifling of sorts. So I haven't run into that, and I probably would never hear it since I'm such an introvert and I don't hear all the drama and everything else like that. So
I think also one of the important things that you said is that you set yourself apart, and you really you embody being a Proverbs 31 woman as a first lady, and having and your character shows. Even you, yes, and yes, you are quiet, an introvert, and so this is funny to me because we've talked about this, but at the same time we've kind of haven't talked about it in some ways. But you set yourself apart, and your character is shown through your work, through the church flyers, through the media. We see how you've been able to be an asset week in and week out, and how great it has been. The pastor said thank you, and he said this is great. He has to run. We made him late to his meeting. It's okay, pastor, take your time. um and so it's beautiful to be able to see how you haven't been discouraged, but more actually encouraged, and how people gravitate to you, even as an introvert. And I don't know if I ever told you this. I have some of your art at the house. And then when you started Art by Tay, I bought a painting from you, and I bought it. I had a classmate who was going through a really, really hard time. She was actually suicidal. And so sent it to her. Just here you go. There's something to brighten up your day. Mailed it to her as a surprise. And a couple months later, she actually texted back and said that when she's feeling down and she's feeling depressed, she actually looks at that art painting and reminds herself that, she doesn't have to be suicidal, that she does have a purpose, and that she is a strong Black woman. And I think it's so important to really be able to share those things with each other and understand and see the full impact of what you do.
That is a great story that you have not shared with me. So
I love you.
thank you for that. Um, Thank you. That's really touching. All of my all of my babies, as I call them, I never even want to part from them. But you can only paint so much before you're like, oh my gosh, I need a whole house for all of this. So I had to get out there and share. And I had Black women, all of you guys, my friends, my family, all saying, no, go out, do it. You can do it. You can do it. Share it. And it's been absolutely phenomenal. So,
So in the time of COVID and being locked in the house, so you can't go to the shows and things that you were going to, how has this affected your work? Are you pausing? Are you still commissioned? Well, you're not pausing because you do it for you, but in terms of being able to sell and things like that, how are you navigating that?
it's been a little bit a pull. COVID changed everything. So while I am already mom, then I became school teacher and homeschool director and lunch person, So the other day I actually painted a new piece. I painted two new pieces and it just felt right again. Now, how I was just telling you that my creative side goes across my job and to other outlets. So I wasn't missing that, but I was missing that time to myself because my art zone became homeschool zone. So I had to pack away my stuff and switch gears. But even in those switching gears, it's just like I'm molding children. So it's not it's not a downside when it's ready to get out there again and we're going back into shows. I'm excited and I'm ready. Um, I'm working on finalizing a better space for my online store. But it's also really hard in this world to capture the essence not in person with online art. And I have not commercialized my art to this point. I do some digital work and graphics because, it's really hard for people to commit to their first art piece. If you're not an art collector and you don't have a love for art in your mind, it's really hard to say, where is this going to go? What am I going to do with it? So I've noticed even in a couple of the shows, people picked up digital prints.
Hmm.
They came back the next time I saw them and they got a piece because they realized that they can have art in their house. They do have a space for it. It's not a frivolous buy, but it's an inspiring buy that's going to keep you grounded, or it's a great gift to give somebody who is like appreciative of art. So starting them off small with digital art and then saying, oh my gosh, I got to have a real piece is really important to just kind of mold people into be like, no, art matters and our art matters. And yes, you could buy a piece from Ross that's really good for your living room, but having something that is crafted and original is really special and unique. And if it speaks to that person, um, that makes me even more happy that the girl got a home.
Yes, I've seen how it can be a little difficult to you to part with pieces, but you've gotten better. It's been great. And so you did say the parenting book will be done at some point in time. As you
They're
can
just
see,
giving me more material. So
well, you have food and spoon, fork and spoon now. Um, that's been fun trying different foods. Are there any other book projects or editing projects, or is that something you have time for at the moment?
um, I am working on collaborating, not even collaborating, compiling all of my poetry. I spoke earlier about how I've been writing poetry since middle school. And I've been slowly pulling that all together. And I'm really amped to release something in February. I'm a hopeless romantic. I love my Hallmark movies. I love my romances, and my poems show my heart. And even though there are times past and times present and times future, I'm really excited to release that soon. And I'm thinking February. So
I'm already looking forward to it. That's going to be fun. I'm very excited. What advice or what is something that you would say to people who are considering self-publishing or maybe starting to share some of their poetry and things like that, especially when we know that it's something that's so close and near and dear to us and that it's really a place where we kind of like bare our soul.
I would say just do it. I didn't listen to that, but it was good advice. Just do it. Get it out there. Don't worry about if you're in it for the business side as a creative, that doesn't really work. Um, but if you're in it just that it reaches someone or it's something that you needed to do, it's a whole different feeling. If you're in it if you're going to write a book and you want to write a book and you want to publish something and you're doing it because it's going to make you money, authors don't make money. Okay, so, and you can if it gets picked up, but that's not really why creatives create. And so just do it, get it out there, get it in a blog, start an Instagram page and post your stuff. Make sure you trademark everything so it stays with you, but get it out there. Use the internet, use the media, use the sources you have as your personal walking diary that you're just sharing with the world. And you won't regret it. There's not been a time that I've actually regretted it. I'm getting it out there and making more space for more creative projects.
Mhm. Sorry about that. Your furry buddy is hungry. uh, that's good. And one day I will listen to you about that. I know that you've been telling me that, and I will listen. But I hope that this is an encouragement to anyone who is also thinking about really expressing themselves and in their art or in their um writing and poetry and blog. It really is healing for the soul. It really is and as we said earlier, it's an expression of faith as well. And really, you never know how God is going to use what you put out there. And so we thank you for using the gifts that God has given you. Some of the flyers that you all have seen for Natural We has actually been from art by Tae, and we're always so excited to be like, let's ask Tae for a piece. She has the eye, being able to do that. But it's been a joy, and it has helped Natural We run smoother. Because you ask questions that we didn't even really know that we needed to answer in order to have the flyer that pops, in order to have the flyer that really it I think the word is what expresses what we're trying to convey, or what the
Mhm.
show will be about, and that is so important, and it's important, as you said, for especially to have someone who's not going to do the stereotypical images of us in what we're trying to do. So we thank you for that.
Oh, I enjoy working with you guys. It's always fun to say, okay, what is the natural we tone and get into the tone of you guys and what you guys are trying to portray so that I always say, if you're going to get something out there, if it's especially in graphic design, what is it going to evoke in 30 seconds? You have 30 seconds to capture an audience. And that goes with how your character, how your look, how you're talking. You have 30 seconds to capture an audience. What are you capturing? Who's going to be on the end of the hook when you capture something? You're going to catch something, but what is it? And is it the right person? Is it the right idea? Are they getting the right concept from you? We never want natural we to say, oh, that's that stodgy, oh yeah, or no, it's yes, it's African American culture, it's African culture, it's our community, but it's inclusive of all of us. You know what I mean? Like from all walks of life. And this is why you want to learn more, or engage more, or understand more. And they're doing this in the community and that in the community. And it seems like fun, and there's still this spiritual element to it. It's really indicative that in 30 seconds you should be able to capture that in a flyer, in a graphic design, in an image, in a video. And it's really important. I've read thousands of books, and that's what I went to school for. And I even did portfolio work for an advertising school. So it's just really important to me that our culture is represented correctly. In the church realm, in our community projects, in our businesses, in our small businesses, in our books, and everything. That our community is not like, oh well, they did their best. No, we did a great work. You know.
Yeah, yeah, in its quality, even if it's not the most expensive $8,000 piece or anything, you still get the quality that captures everything. If anyone wants to follow you, or commission you for a flyer or anything like that, how would they get in contact?
You can contact me on my Art by Tay Instagram, or you can actually, yeah, Art by Tay Instagram is best for any commission work. Anything that I have for sale is going to be up on there, and any graphic design business or anything like that.
And do you have any, before we go into our announcements, do you have any final words, thoughts, anything that you would like to share?
Um, During this time, if you are creative, hold on to that. Um, do something for you. Keep creating, even in a dark space. If you sing in a dark space. You paint in a dark space. Um, get it out, because we're going to come out of this and realize that it's affected us more than we wanted it to. But if we were still doing those things that bring us joy, and maybe you're not a creative, maybe you're on the techie side, but do those things, keep plugging through those things, because that's what keeps you grounded. That's what keeps you sane. That's what keeps you going, because we don't want to ever not tap back into ourselves, so that we're not only healing ourselves and reaching ourselves, but we have the chance to impact somebody else in even something as small as creating graphic design, art, expressing yourself, writing poetry. Even if the poetry never makes it anywhere, it's for you. And it's empowering, and it's healing, and it's what your soul needs at the end of a long day. So just keep going, even if you feel nobody's watching. You're watching. So just keep going.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We appreciate your word. Natural re echoes those thoughts. We have a saying that we are more than well, and we are more than well because we do the things that make us well. Writing makes us well. Singing makes us well. Painting makes us well. Being exactly who we are each and every second of the day makes us more than well. And so we thank Art by Tae. We thank Tae McKinney for um, her art, for her words, for her creative expression in all she does, and on the techie side. We didn't even really talk about that, but it's fine. um, in our nerdy way, in our nerdy self, but it's so much fun. And to Natural We community, we thank you for joining and watching. Final announcements, please be on the lookout. We have a short video commercial coming out soon. We also have t-shirts coming out that say we are more than well, that just shows the community that we are, that shows who we are in all facets of life. And I'm just trying to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. The tutoring program is still going strong. If you or a student needs assistance in resume writing, college writing, math, science, English, reading. We even have a preschool hour, and it's real fun because sometimes adults join in on the preschool hour. We just learned a song in Yoruba. So thank you for everyone who also continues to support Natural We, and we hope that you have a great rest of the evening and week. And remember that we are more than well. Take care and thank you, Tay.
Bye bye.
Bye.